Today's movie is based on Stephen King's novel Carrie. This movie had been directed by Brian De Palma. Shy 16-year-old Carrie White, who lives with her fanatically religious and unstable mother Margaret, is unpopular at school and often bullied by her peers. When Carrie experiences her first period in the school shower, she panics, having never been told about menstruation. Carrie's classmates throw tampons and sanitary pads at her, while chanting "plug it up," until the gym teacher, Miss Collins, intervenes. She tries to pacify Carrie, but she is very scared. Suddenly the light blasts off. In fact, Carrie got some powers that she herself doesn't know. Whenever she got scared, something strange happens around her. We'll definitely talk about these in a bit. Miss Collins sends everyone else out of there and tells Carrie that there is nothing to be afraid of. Carrie is menstruating for the first time today. She doesn't even know about it because her mother never told her. Every parent should talk about this to their child, whether it is a boy or a girl, because when the time comes, both can definitely help someone or the other. Following conversations with Miss Collins and the principal, Carrie is dismissed from school for the week, which is pretty weird. She gets angry and the ashtray falls down. Carrie walks home. Margaret is a strong religious woman who follows everything written in the Bible. If she make any mistake, which is a sin according to the Bible, then she used to make atonement by harming herself. Margaret goes to Mrs. Snell's house. Her daughter Sue happens to be Carrie's classmate. Margaret tells she is there on the Lord's work. She gives her a book, and Mrs. Snell sends her away with a $10 donation. After arriving home, Margaret tells Carrie that her menstruation was caused by sin, and she locks Carrie in an altar-like prayer closet to pray for forgiveness. She somehow manages to control her power this time, and doesn't mess anything up. Carrie breaks the mirror with her power, but also reinstate it before Mother's arrival. She is now learning to control her power. This is not a supernatural power, but telekinesis. At school, Carrie watches everyone practicing in gym class. Because she has been dismissed from this class for a week, Collins reprimands Carrie's tormentors, punishing them with a week-long detention during gym class. She threatens that those who skip the punitive measure will be suspended for 3 days and barred from the upcoming prom. However, Carrie's longtime bully, Chris Hargensen, walks out and gets excluded from the prom. At the library, Carrie is reading about telekinesis, so she can learn to control her powers. Meanwhile, Sue, a deeply remorseful classmate, asks her handsome and popular boyfriend, Tommy Ross, to invite Carrie to the prom. Carrie believes the proposition is a prank, but he insists that it is genuine. When she tells this to Miss Collins, she is very happy, but she wants to make sure that this is not Sue's plan to insult Carrie. Miss Collins talks about it with Sue and Tommy. Sue says that she wants to make Carrie feel better. She tells Tommy to invite Carrie to prom night once again, plotting vengeance against Carrie. Chris and her boyfriend Billy Nolan break into a farm and kill pigs to drain their blood into a bucket. Chris and Billy place the bucket above the school's stage in the gymnasium. Norma, Chris' best friend, and a prominent figure in the school's student council regime, plans to rig the Prom Queen election in Carrie's favor to get her on the stage. They have planned when Carrie comes on stage, then will drop the bucket of blood on her. Carrie informs her mother that she's been invited to the prom by Tommy. Margaret explains that all boys are alike. He will hurt you and make fun of you. Tommy is doing all this to get physical. Carrie gets irritated and tells her that Tommy is a nice guy, but Margaret doesn't listen to a single word from her and asks to apologize to God. Carrie begins to discover that she has telekinesis as she shakes off her shyness. Basically, Margaret is a psycho woman. Carrie is insisting because she too has to go to the prom with Tommy. Despite Margaret's protests, Carrie puts on a flattering dress and hairstyle for the prom. Margaret sees Carrie's telekinetic powers and denounces her as a witch. But when Margaret tries to stop her, she pushes her and tells her to sit down. Tommy takes Carrie to prom. Miss Collins compliments Carrie on her dress. Seriously, she is looking gorgeous in this dress. Students also praise her dress a lot. Carrie dances for the first time and she is overjoyed. because till now her life was full of loneliness and sorrow. Today she got this beautiful moment because of Tommy. During the prom, Chris and Billy hide under the stage, while the other conspirators switch the ballots to ensure that Carrie wins the Prom Queen title. Tommy and Carrie are chosen as the best couple, and everyone congratulates them as Carrie stands on stage with Tommy, finally beginning to feel accepted by her peers. Sue realizes Chris and Billy's plan and begins to intervene. Miss Collins spots Sue and, thinking she is up to no good, throws her out of the prom. Chris and Billy pull the rope attached to the bucket of pig blood, dousing Carrie. They then sneak out of the school. The empty bucket hits the outraged Tommy in the head, and he collapses. The crowd is left shocked and speechless at the prank. But Carrie hallucinates that everyone, even Miss Collins, is mocking her, and, in a sudden outburst, telekinetically seals the exits and controls a fire hose, which injures several party-goers attempting to escape, and sprays the overhead lights. Miss Collins is crushed by a falling basketball backboard, and Carrie's principal and teacher are electrocuted, setting the gym on fire. Carrie exits the gym and seals the doors behind her, trapping staff and classmates. As Carrie walks home, Chris and Billy attempt to run her over with Billy's car, but Carrie causes their car to overturn and explode, killing them. After Carrie bathes herself at home, Margaret reveals that Carrie was conceived when her husband was drunk, an act that Margaret shamefully admits she enjoyed. Margaret says she should have given to God when Carrie was born, but she was weak and backsliding. She thinks the devil is inside Carrie. She asks her to pray for the last time, and then stabs her in the back with a kitchen knife and begins chasing her through the house. Carrie levitates several sharp implements and sends them flying toward Margaret, crucifying her. Then she destroys the house and perishes. Sometime later, Sue, the only survivor of the prom, has a nightmare in which she goes to lay flowers on the charred remains of Carrie's home, upon which stands a for sale sign, vandalized in black paint with the words, "Carrie White burns in hell." Suddenly, Carrie's bloody arm reaches from beneath the rubble and grabs Sue's forearm. Sue wakes up screaming and writhing in terror as her mother tries to comfort her. That's all for today. Thanks for watching.